Welcome to my True Scary Story YouTube channel. I want to welcome you all and ask that you subscribe now. Comment on my newest video and introduce yourself if you're new to the channel. The Sinful Society is very welcoming and are some of the nicest people on YouTube. I narrate for you guys out there, and I want you to share your true scary stories with me so I can feature your scary story on an upcoming video. Cheers to the freshest horror content on the tube. Email your true scary stories to thesinfulsavant@gmail.com. I will leave a link to my email in the description box below as well. Please be sure to leave a like on this video as well, as it helps my content reach even more people. Sit back, relax, enjoy, stay sinful. This story happened in September of this year, and is by far the scariest thing to ever happen to me. I live on the second floor of a residential house in a pretty large suburb with my fiance and our cat. The night this happened, I decided to get some cool air in by opening all the windows, since our landlord had just removed the ACs. Being on the second floor, I didn't even give a second thought to having all the windows open. About 2 a.m., I woke up to my cat making a weird noise and she wouldn't stop. So I got up to see what she wanted, and I needed a refill on my water anyway. When I walked into the hall, I saw a figure standing in the entrance of the kitchen. Being half asleep, I said, "Renee, what are you doing? Are you okay?" Thinking it was my fiance at that point, I realized this was not my fiance, and went from a half asleep to fully awake as pure terror ran through my body. I ran back into the room yelling like a lunatic. Renee woke up screaming. I kept yelling, "Call 911!" as I jumped over the bed and pulled out my loaded 9mm I have in my dresser drawer. As I pointed it at the doorway, the figure was walking into the room. They saw the gun and started running back down the hall. I gave chase, yelling and aiming my gun at the person's back. They ran into the living room and jumped out the window onto the pavement below, letting out a loud scream. They attempted to run but couldn't stand. I found out later he had broken one of his legs. About 30 seconds later, a police car came speeding up in front of my house. The officer got out and handcuffed the man. More officers showed up and took my statement. It turned out this man was high on drugs and had been arrested for burglary in the past. When they searched him, they found a knife on him. I assume he was just looking to steal from us, but I'll truly never know if it wasn't for my cat and my gun. I might not be here to write this. I'm just glad no one was hurt and the man was arrested, and I do hope he gets the help he needs. And more importantly, he stays far away from me. The police told me he must have used a ladder that my landlord had left out, as he had done some work on the house the previous week. I now know to make sure to lock every window before I go to bed at night. When I was 16, a bunch of us, 7 girls aged 14 to 17, went to Stowe Lake in Golden Gate Park to do what most teenage girls did back then. Hang out, smoke grass, drink, listen to music, and gossip. We'd been walking around for a while, alternately munching on junk food and feeding the water birds, when we decided to go hang out near the boathouse, where people rent paddle boats and regular boats. We'd been there for about 20 minutes when myself and one of my friends I'll call Max noticed this guy in his late 20s or early 30s clearly watching us. He was a possible Hispanic male with dark hair, dark eyes, a nondescript face, and an average build, and he kind of reminded me of my middle school teacher. He didn't give off any creepy vibes at first. However, as time went on, we noticed he kept staring and staring. I noticed that he mostly focused on the youngest in our group, a small girl of 14 I'll call Sarah, who looked more like she was 11 or 12 years old. He even licked his lips as he looked at her and didn't even try to hide it. which both creeped me out and pissed me off. I've always been very protective of the smaller, weaker ones in our group, and the way this asshole leered at her was ringing my alarm bells. The others had eventually noticed him too, and were as creeped out as I was, so we decided to move again, grabbed our stuff, and left. If you guessed the creeper followed us, you'd be right. He stayed maybe 40 feet behind us, but it was clear what he was doing. We gave him several dirty looks over our shoulders as we walked, but of course this had no effect whatsoever. Eventually we didn't see him behind us anymore, so we went to one of our favorite hangouts, a big fragrant pine tree just off a small trail. Its thick, low branches were perfect for sitting on. We got comfortable, pulled out some cans of soda, a boombox, and were just about to fire up a joint when Creeper reappeared. He came out from behind a tree, stopped 20 feet from us and stared again. But now, he decided to speak. He said we were all pretty, asked what we were doing, that he'd love to buy us beer and weed and hang out with us. He said he lived nearby, and that we could all come to his place and party. He inched closer to us as he talked, his eyes glued to Sarah, who decided to hide behind me and Max, as we were the tallest and fittest of the bunch. He stopped less than 10 feet from us, his head angling in an attempt to see Sarah. We all kind of looked at each other, silent, unsure how to proceed. Well, our silence caused the creeper to flip his shit and start cursing. I didn't write down everything he said, just that he called us sluts and dykes, and said that we all needed some nice, especially the little one, he said, pointing at Sarah and once again licking his lips. He said more gross stuff that he would do to Sarah, but got cut off when we all grabbed pine cones, rocks, cans, and bottles. Pretty much everything we could get our hands on, and we started chucking them at him. Max played on the softball team and was wicked accurate with those pine cones, hitting his head, stomach, and groin, bruising him and drawing blood. We screamed and cussed him out, calling him among many things a pervert asshole prick, and that we want him to die. I want to take this moment to say that all this happened on a nice sunny Saturday afternoon, with lots of people around. People who did nothing to help a bunch of teen girls being creeped out by a much older man. People who just ignored it until we started chucking things at him. Only then did they start yelling at him to leave us alone, which finally managed to drive him away, as he yelled incoherent curses at everyone while he was running. We left the park as Sarah was too shaken up to stay, and ended up taking a bus back to my place, where we watched movies and ate junk food until very late into the evening. We did go back there many times, but always in a large group, and we never saw the creeper again. Years later, I'm 100% certain that if there had been less of us, Creeper would have been more aggressive and maybe even tried to grab Sarah. Instead, he ended up getting pelted with pine cones, rocks, and garbage. For that, I am grateful. The part of this experience that makes me the angriest isn't the creepy man, but the people who saw a bunch of girls being harassed by a guy easily twice their age and clearly perving out, did nothing to stop him. Stay safe out there and don't ever expect strangers to save you. My husband and I were both driving around, decided to stop at a thrift store. It was probably 7:30 p.m. or so in November. We were in a relatively high crime area, and the parking lot didn't have any working lights, so it was very, very dark, which sort of set off my spidey senses. The lot was empty except for a big pickup truck with a bed. The truck was parked about 50 feet from the entrance to the store in the closest parking spot. The store was emitting some light through the doorway, which illuminated the cab of the truck just a little bit, enough to reassure me that it was indeed empty. I was driving and my husband was in the passenger seat. I circled all the way around the large empty truck, noticing that it was empty, then parked my tiny little car along the passenger side of the truck, the opposite side from the store, because it was the next closest spot to the entrance. The parking lot was big and empty. Trust me, I was paying close attention. There were just a few cars parked in another lot on the other side of the store. As soon as I parked, my husband started to open his passenger door without delay to get out, and I was just about to open my door when I saw a man alongside my car, between my car and the truck, in my driver's side mirror. He was so close I could only see him from the chest to about his knees. This would likely put him somewhere around the back seat driver's side door of the back of our little hatchback. I immediately started the car, backed up while I yelled for my husband to close his door, which he did, and then I drove off. Trying to make sense of what I saw, I quickly circled around the truck, hoping to see some normal guy getting into the truck, like it was just me overreacting, but we didn't see the man anywhere. The weird part is, I don't understand where he came from or where he went, because other than the truck, there were no places to go or to hide. I don't think there would have even been enough time to get in or out of the cab of the truck, and we would have seen him. The truck's passenger door was right next to my door when I parked, so I know he didn't come out of it. The only thing I can guess is he was hiding underneath the truck or in the bed when we pulled up, and in the 2 seconds it took me to drive around his truck before we left, he either went back under the truck or he was very agile and managed to throw himself over the side of the truck without us seeing him or the truck shaking. Whether he was in the truck bed or under the truck, or a combination of both, he clearly could not have had good intentions for us, sneaking up like that and then hiding. If objects and mirrors are closer than they appear, then that guy was ready to do us harm the moment I unlocked my door. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Please be sure to subscribe now if you haven't already done so. Leave a thumbs up on this video, as it helps it perform at a much higher level. Email your true scary stories to thesinfulsavant@gmail.com. The link is in the description box below as well. And until we meet again in 2022, Happy New Year's, everyone. Be safe, happy, healthy, sinful in the new year.